Hi everyone, I'm Natalia. Welcome to my channel. Today is a Friday 13th. I don't know how many of you are superstitious. I'm not. I love 13. 13 is my favorite number. I mean, hello, I'm a Scorpio, so that card in tarot is my card. So I absolutely love number 13 and everything about number 13. I love that it falls today on Friday, Venusian day. And last time when I made a videos, one of you, when I was talking about Hecate and decks to work with Hecate, have asked me how do I work, how do I integrate working with Hecate into my practice. And I've been wanting to make this video ever since that person has posted it because I think it's such a great topic for discussion. I think it's such a great topic for also ideas. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm really excited. I just finished up final video touches for my Circle of Trans Womanhood memberships that I'm opening up tomorrow for my main work. So I'm excited. I'm a little bit tired. I am exhilarated. I see that my candles that I have going on here is going like crazy. I'm gonna light another one. I love having candles um, going here around me when I work. I always have a candle burning. So I'm gonna do this. I mentioned last time this new company I found in Seattle by Particle Goods. This is ozone, oak moss, amber, cedar, citrus, wet fern, and petrichor. It smells very, very nice. Kind of like a mix of ozone and a little bit of forest all in one. So let's burn this one. Hopefully it's not going to get all over the place like the one that I just been burning. I've been burning Hecate candle, but I think the wick on that one needs to be trimmed. And you might hear that candle crackling, this candle crackling. So, like I said, I just finished up. I was going to have a glass of bubbly rosé with all of you that I got to celebrate finishing and wrapping everything up. But it's 2 o'clock right now. It's going to mellow me out. So the bubbly rosé is going to have to wait till evening. I'll have some water with all of you um, to just sit down and chat so I wanted to talk primarily today how I connect, establish relationship, work, and integrate wisdom that I tend to get from working with Hecate. I love videos like this because there's nothing, for me, nothing better than listening how other people actually do their work, do their practice. I think there is multitude of ways of working and connecting with Hecate. There's numerous books that are written out there. I have a video on different book suggestions. Everybody who wrote a book will have their own different recommendation. I took Jack Rail's class on Hecate, which is a fantastic class. He has his own way. So what I'm trying to say is that there's different gateways into working with Hecate. And I don't think there is, in my opinion, one gateway that an absolute right gateway. I think the key, what I found that works for me, is find what works for me. It really comes down to that. Find what is sustainable for me, find what's realistic given my circumstances, and also find, this is most importantly, what's fitting with my personality, what's fitting with my type of who I am as a person. For example, I have a hard time with very strict discipline. I'm a person of organic flow. And so for me to maybe do something that is ritualistic, where I have to do something on every new moon or full moon, or um, something that I have to do weekly, I just know it's not going to be sustainable. It's not going to be sustainable. So what I realized early on is to feed the practice to my lifestyle. And I think so many of you can resonate with that, and probably already doing that in your lives. But I wanted to share with you and break this video into 3 parts. Part one, how I personally connect to Hecate. Two, how I establish a relationship with her. And three, most importantly, what wisdom do I generate from her, and how do I integrate it into my personal life? So it's sort of personal gnosis video, if you will. And keep in mind, everything I'm telling you is just me, how I navigate it for myself. This is not the only obviously way. This is my way. Your way might be different, or your way might be very similar, or you might try my way and find out that some things work for you and some things don't. So thirsty. So first, how do I personally connect and establish connection with Hekate? For me personally, connection, I had to ask myself, what would that connection look like? Do I want to connect with her on visual level, on maybe some other imaginative level through my own imagination? Do I want to connect with her through some kind of ritualistic behavior? So in the beginning, I had to go through a lot of trial and errors to figure out what works for me. And I'm a highly, highly visual person, and I'm very, very aesthetic driven. I love beauty. I love beautiful objects. I love beautiful things. I love beautiful surroundings. I love beautiful clothes. I love beautiful things. I just do. And so for me, being somebody who is very high in aesthetics, I knew that I wanted to connect with her visually through particularly having items and objects that to me connect to me to her energy, represent for me her energy. And like so many of us, the first one that I did was to get myself a Hecate statue. I love statues. I love the idea of statues. I love the concept of statues. I love what statues represent. I love what this. I just love everything about statues. I think statues are such an amazing item that is also, it can be so supercharged through work with it. I grew up, my family were not religious, although faithful, and very occasionally my mom will take us to Orthodox Russian church, not for the service. I don't think I ever attended a church service, but my mom will take us to light candles for people who passed away, departed in our lives. And so this visual of very small church with icons everywhere, religious icons of saints everywhere, and the beeswax church thin candles, something that deeply embedded in my memory and is very nostalgic and very deeply connected to me to this day. To this day, I absolutely adore religious items, iconography. I love to wear crosses for that reason. They have to be, for me, less to do with spirituality or religion per se, and more to do with that feeling and that nostalgia. And so statues for me fall into that category too. So the first statue that I got was this ceramic. You can actually lift her up, and as you can see, there's an offerings that I have for her. I have opal stone, which is, I don't know how many of you know, this is opal. Before opal gets polished into that nice shiny stone, opals usually look, raw opals kind of look like this. So I have raw opal stone here. I have also this black onyx wrapped snake pendant for her there. I seldom use lifting her up and putting something down. She has, where she's planted, she has a different bowl where I put an offering for her. So this is the first statue that I got, and although I'm not honestly a fan of representation of Hecate as triple moon goddess or maiden mother crone, because I feel like this is way too modern interpretation and it's not really in sync with how I see her. I still love this particular statue because it looks like almost she's shape-shifting in the three aspects of herself. I got the statue on Etsy long time ago. I love how it has a snake dwindling. The snake had already lost one eye. So it's one-eyed snake. So for me, the first way to establish connection is how am I gonna do it? And for me, it is usually items like this. Then over the time, I acquired this statue. I'm always on the lookout Hecate statues that are different than what I usually see. This one I got off Amazon actually. I love this one. I love that you can see her connection to dogs and then her connection to owls by owl wings. I just love this one too. So this one is a recent one. You saw my big dark feminine, which is part of Hecate too. In other videos, she's too heavy. Not gonna show her. And I also have a lot of this amazing, amazing made dolls by, I'm going to put actually Hagru by Hagru. I have a lot of oils from her too. I'll put her website down below. This is a Hecate doll that I have specifically asked her to create for me. I told her that I work in this Hecate. She's my primary goddess. And so I just told her from then on, you can channel whatever comes your way. And this is my doll. She is on a petrified foot underneath. I love this doll. This doll travels with me when I go for New Year, family celebration of New Year to Seattle. And I do tarot readings for my entire family, except for my older sister. She doesn't give a shit about tarot cards. But for my younger sister, my mom, my sister's husband, for the year ahead readings, and I always bring her with me. I have an oil from Hagrid as well that I feed this doll with. So this is a very special doll. She's been through a ton of oils. She smells fantastic. She's always right here in my credenza, and sometimes I'll have her right here on my desk, right next to me. So being a visual person, I establish connection by acquiring and getting items to connect to, getting items that are going to be, it's almost like a part of my personality needs to have that visual concrete item. So that way I feel like I'm really directly interacting with that energy. That's just how it works for me. For you, it might be something else. But I think for a lot of us, we do the same thing. That's why we create shrines, and that's why we create ritualistic altar spaces. I also have this adorable little traveling Hecate statue by Jeff Collins. Jeff Collins has amazing statues and has a really, really good book on working with Hecate, by the way, too. So I'll link his website below too. So I set up this a space for her, and right now, sorry, so anal when I wear black. Right now, I have her. All of her statues are here on my altar that I showed you last time. That's where I also have an offering bowl for her. In terms of offering, I'm very, how should I say it? I don't follow any moon phases. I don't follow any particular days. I make sure that she has fresh garlic. I mainly give her a whole clove of garlic and 2 cinnamon sticks that I put as a crossroads and drizzle some honey for sweetness. That's what I do. That's what's accessible to me in my kitchen. That's what's convenient for me. When I feel like the offering is getting stale, you kind of get, for me, I get this feeling like, oh, I should really, she needs fresh food. Or when I just see garlic getting stale, I will change it up and put the fresh offering for her. If sometimes I want to ask her for something, for some specific help, to help me with something. When David and I were looking for a house a year ago, I was working closely with her. I had her set up on my dining table. I was feeding her coffee every morning, and I was feeding her fresh boiled eggs. I was extending my offering to her because I was trying to establish a connection of reciprocity and gratitude for her to do something for me. That's when I extend myself more. That's when I engage with her even more. But in terms of everyday connectivity, it's really just what works for me. Every time, and this is every morning when I do daily reading for myself, kind of like what's the energy of the day today for me, or when I do tarot readings for myself, period, at any time, or when I do tarot readings for anybody else, I always call out on my ancestors, and I call out them. I say my dad, my father, my great-great-grandmother, and my grandfather. Their pictures are on my altar. So those are the ancestors I deeply connect with. And Hecate. And I usually will say her name 3 times, Hecate, Hecate, Hecate. And then I will say some part of her episode, the dark one, the monstrous ones, um, I'm looking at her right now. It's the dark feminine one. So that connection is always present. I look at connection and connecting to Goddess in the beginning as a way to establish a line, that I can then tap in and access her. And that sometimes I can saturate the line. For example, when I need something from her, I will, like I said, I will extend my offerings, saturate the line by extending myself to her, by connecting to her maybe more intimately or more deeply, or really calling her in. Connection to me is really important, because for me, if she's not in some shape or form in a forefront, if she's just somebody I forget about, and then out of the blue when I need something, I reach out for her, to me that is not a relationship. And I'll talk about relationship in a part 2, but to me this is not a working relationship. To me it's not, to me it's almost like I have your statue and you're just there, but then when I need you, I will ask you for help. Connection to me is almost like a daily reminder. It's a daily it's a daily proximity. It is a daily can you hear a candle cracking? It's a daily, not even what's the word I'm looking for? It's a daily constant engagement. There you go, engagement with her. So this is what works for me. I have tried putting her altar on a kitchen table to interact with her more. It didn't really work out for me. It got in the way. I tried to build her altar somewhere else. Multiple altars doesn't work for me. For me personally, I have to have my spiritual space and practice all in one place versus multiple places in my house, and that's how it works for me. And whereas I have other goddesses, so you can see in a corner right there under the snake plant next to end of the bookshelf, there is Aphrodite. And then right there, next to all the black books, union books, you see I have all the statues from Lady Luna, amazing Lady Luna, and there's Inanna, there's also right there Lilith, there is, there's Bass, there's Medusa right there. I do have also statues of other dark feminine goddesses, and I will pull them out from there and put them on my working desk. And they're always there, and I love them, and I can feel their energy in a bag. But this is my main one, and I have the most connection and the most strongest line of connectivity with her. So the first thing, if you're thinking about how to work with Hecate or any goddess of your choice, just ask yourself, how would I like to connect? What would work for me? Some people, instead of a statue, they have a picture. Some people, they just have a candle. Some people may not have anything at all, and maybe something reminds them of her. I also have a lot of jewelry that I ascribe and particularly think of Hecate when I wear. Even though I'm wearing a lot of snakes right now, these are not necessarily that I ascribe to her. I do have a necklace with crossed, it is crossed, I want to say chicken feet, but it's not. It is crossed crow or raven claw, talons. Because it's crossed and crossroads reminds me of Hecate. I have a necklace with a key. So there are certain pieces that to me are very Hecatean pieces. When I wear, it is very symbolic to me that I'm stepping into that line connection with her. So what are those things for you? There might be an item of clothing you wear. There might be certain colors you wear. There might be certain way you express yourself on a particular day that feels almost Hecatean-like, or whatever goddess you're working with. So establishing connection is the first thing that I do. And thinking about what would work for me, I also have a lot of candles dedicated to her. I have candles that I was trying to burn but was flaring up that I recently got from October Cold for Hecate. I have another candle by also a great candle creator, Snakes for Hair. Smells great. This is the same creator who artistically created Goddess of Love Tarot and Hong Kong Tarot. So I will have candles dedicated to her. I will have things of that nature. All of them to me are about connection, about connectivity. The second part of my work with Hecate is relationship. Now that I have connection, established connection with her, how do I want to relate to her? How do I want to have a relationship with her? What is that relationship with her is going to look like? And remember, Jack Rail in a class has done such a fantastic job. And by the way, I would really encourage all of you, if Hekate is your goddess, you want to work with her, Google Jack Rail on YouTube. He has done a lot of great interviews where he talks there's a lot of golden nuggets of wisdom in those interviews. If you can't take the class, just listen to some of those YouTube interviews. Those are the ones I listened to before taking his class. And he emphasizes also in those interviews the relationship. How you're going to have a relationship with the goddess. And one of the premises he talks about is that the relationship with the goddess is just like relationship we have with close people. How do you treat other people that you want to have a relationship with in your life? Do you check in on them? Do you treat them nicely? Do you treat them with respect? Do you remember them? Do you spend time in their company? How are you relationally? What do your friendships look like? That's how your relationship with Hekate is going to look like. And for me, a relationship was also about that. How do I want to engage in strengthening that relationship with her if I'm not by character, by nature, somebody who is ritualistically disciplined, who is going to do new moon or dark moon rituals or full moon rituals, or somebody who is going to do any rituals at all? Then how can I relate to her? And for me, a relationship with her is this daily talking with her that I have, the daily conversation that I have with her. I will call on her very often. And I call on her less when I need help because I'm very self-reliant. And there's a lot of things, a lot of problems or things that obstacles that I run into that I tend to solve by myself. And of course, there are times that I will call on her. Yesterday I went for a walk, and while I was walking, I was having conversation with her inside of my head. I was asking her to guide me and to be there by my side as I get over this crossroads, as I get over this threshold of the next chapter of my life between now and between tomorrow, when the circle of membership that I'm planning to do for my main work opens up. So I will have internal conversation with her, internal dialogue, asking for help, sometimes for guidance, sometimes just as if I'm talking to a friend. These are all ways to relate. When I read a book on Hecate, I'll get an idea of maybe how to find new ways not only to connect to her, but also how to step in a dialogue with her in a different way. Sometimes when I'm meditating, I might be stepping in a dialogue with her. As I said in the beginning, when I really need her to help me with something, I will extend an offering. I will go beyond what I usually offer for her. I will go beyond in terms of sitting down and talking with her. In other words, I will invest time and energy with respect and also with mindfulness, the way I would if I were coming to a friend for a help. So think about what your relationship is going to look like. What you give is what you get. That's usually how I look at it. And having said that phrase, what you give is what you get, I also want to mention that you still have to be true to yourself. In a sense that, for example, some people might say, well, that's why you have got to do rituals all the time or be very disciplined about particular phases of moon, because what you give or what you get. And if you kind of not doing it so frequently because it's just not your jam, you're not going to establish something that is worthwhile. And I disagree with that. I really disagree with that. I feel that just like in a relationship, I have friends who know me really well. I have friends who know that I'm one of those friends who I'm not going to call you all the time. I'm not going to text message you all the time. I'm not the type of friend who is who just needs to have a line of communication open all of the time. I'm just not. I'm incredibly solitary. I love to be alone and I love my solitude. If you reach out to me, you need something, yes, I bet you I'm going to be there for you. And if I have a hard time, I might reach out to you. Or if something comes up and I just want to share something with you, I will do that. This is how I am as a friend. My friends know this. So if like Acacia, for example, my sister from another mother, this girl, this woman, how long have I known Kasha? I have known Kasha for I think 10 years now. We never met in person. I would call her my very close friend. I mean, I call her my sister. She's a freaking sister, period. Period. We're just, it's hilarious. Anyhow, I met her 10 years ago through, there was a deck swap. There was a deck she wanted, deck I wanted, and the deck that she wanted that I had, it was one of my first agent jobs. It was a Vaki golden market agent job. And so in the email I said, do you want to jump on Zoom so I can show you the aging? And she's like, why do we need to Zoom to trade decks? Good for boundaries, right? Because when you're a YouTube creator, boundaries are important. Anyhow, it's so funny how we're connected, but we're really good friends now. She's one of my closest best friends, sister spirit. I would call her sister other than best friend. And how do we connect? We may not talk for months. And then suddenly on Instagram, she'll be like, you want to chat? Jumping on Instagram, an hour video chat. Or I'll send her a message, hey, can you draw me a few cards? I'm going through a hard period. Or I need this. Or do you have this deck? But it's very sporadic. And it's sporadic because that's how we are. And it works because she knows how I am. And she gets it. And she's fine with that. I'm sure Kasha has friends who are much more frequently connect to her than I do. But the point I'm trying to make is that we know each other and we understand our way of relating to each other within the scope of who we are. And this is how I look at this. Hecate knows how I am. That's how I see it. She knows how I am as a person. She knows that my relating to her comes from my inner tendencies of just how I relate to everybody else who's close to me. It's not coming from a place of mindlessness or neglect or disregard. So I want to mention that because I think that's also really important, because that way we can maintain really authentic and truthful to who we are as people. I think with YouTube and my experience and with so many advices out there on how to connect to deities, one can quickly get lost in all of these obligations, all of these rules, all of this musts, all of this I should do this and this and this, only to realize how instead of building a connection, you're slowly building resentful practice because it doesn't work for you. It doesn't suit your schedule. It doesn't fit your personality. This is what I discovered reading a high form of ceremonial magic. It's not for me. There's no freaking way I'm going to follow a set of guidelines. There's no freaking way you can ever get me to do ritual type of step-by-step thing or something that there's just no way. At least right now where I'm at. Nothing wrong against that particular style of magic. It's just not for me. And so figuring out what's for me and just letting it go and adopting in my own way has been the most liberating thing. Because today I feel like everybody has an opinion, and everybody is quick to turn their opinion into expert. This is the way, and if you're not doing it this way, it's wrong, and yeah, whatever. That just not give you a whole. So really encourage, if you're connecting to Hecate or anybody else, to make it fitting to how you relate to people and what works for you. So relationship is the second part. The third part is what wisdom do I get from working with her, and how do I integrate, most importantly, into my life? How does the integration happen? I mentioned in a recent video where Cher Dax working with Hecate that um, for me, my connection to her and her being part of my life is so mirrors back what I do for a living and how I meet people at threshold, how I meet people literally at crossroads of their lives where they have to decide to go one direction or another. And I help guide people through that part of their lives. And so one of the things that I found early on is that the goddess that I personally gravitate toward is not only a mirror of some attributes that I either have or not aware of but need to recognize, or things that she brings as a part of dark divine feminine that I personally need to integrate into my life. Generally speaking, when I work with any dark goddess, Hecate, Lilith, Medusa, Kali, for me, the dark feminine and the work and engagement with the dark feminine as a spiritual practice for self-growth is about owning up and reeling back home aspects of feminine that have been culturally, socially devalued and has been cast off. Yes, it sounds like shadow work, and in many ways it absolutely is. With exception, shadow work is you working on multi aspects of the self. Here, with dark feminine work for me, I'm focusing primarily on aspects of the feminine that has been repressed, has also been cast off, that also have been demonized by society, by culture, by patriarchy. And the integration for me is uncovering what those parts within me in relationship to me. Once I uncover them, work through understanding why these parts of my feminine were repressed, were cast off, were devalued, and then asking myself if it's something that I actively choose. This is where the empowerment comes in. Is it something that I actively choose to bring and integrate back into my life in a way where it becomes part of myself, where I can now proudly wear it as a badge of honor, where I can proudly now engage with that, step into that energy, have that energy be part of my womanhood. That's how I look at it. And so with Hecate, that's what I have been working on. She has been helping me to step in elements of my integrity, to step in elements of it's especially part of my womanhood that has a tendency to disregard, this is for me, has a tendency to disregard myself, at expense of others. One of the biggest problems that I have is by being way too generous, by being way too kind. You would probably wonder, why would that ever be a problem? That is such a beautiful thing to be kind and generous person, and it is. It absolutely is. It becomes problematic when you're also the person that when you love completely and you give completely. And I'm one of those people. And in my relationship with men, and my relationship even with people, I have a tendency to always be so kind and generous, which is not a bad thing, it's a beautiful thing. But consciously or subconsciously, you're still giving a message to the person that they're always going to be on receiving end. And eventually what happens is they get comfortable in the dynamic where they will even unconsciously expect things from you. And by the way, a lot of people in my life are not trying to actively take advantage of me by any means. I'm very good at spotting when people actually take an advantage of me. But what happens with some people is that they're not actively taking advantage of me. They're subconsciously just becoming more comfortable in that setup. And so as a result, over time, I start feeling like I'm being taken for granted, even though nobody's taken me for granted. I hope I explained that well. There's a very big difference being in a relationship with people who really take advantage of you. I'm trying to think if I ever, yes, I've been in those relationships. As a Scorpio, I cut them out immediately. It is so much harder to learn and grow in relationships where you know that they're not taking advantage of you, but there are reenacting dynamic you have laid out for yourself and for them. And the reason why they're reenacting dynamic, because you also did not, I mean, when I say you, I'm talking about myself. I did not have stronger boundaries. And I also, as a part of overgiving and being overgenerous, is also part of deep down inside not fully, completely valuing myself. And as a result, not giving myself first. And that's something that I had to learn. And not only learn, but to find myself in a relationship dynamics that are years and decades deep. And to find a way, how do I navigate all of this now? How do you now reestablish or set boundaries? How do you even explain to the person you love that this is what has happened? When they look at you like, I'm not trying to take advantage of you. It's like, no, I know you're not. But it feels like this to me. And it feels like this to me because of how my doors had been wide open. Because part of me expects, and this is so unfair, for other person to whom I'm giving so much, for that person to have their boundary to say, this is enough. This is enough. You're giving too much. And so because I expect, and when they don't, because that's just not who they are, or maybe they don't see it that way, and I'm projecting my ideal on how they should behave, that's where that feeling of taken for granted comes up. So she has been very helpful to help me work through that, to help me to really step into my own ownership of myself. And taking accountability for the choices we made in relationship to people, all sorts of relationship, friendships, intimate relationship, taking our own accountability is the hardest thing. To be able to sit with a person and say, this is byproduct of a sequence of choices I reenacted. And I need to find a way with your help, and you need to also to unravel your side, and I need to unravel my side. That is not easy to do. We're so prone to point fingers at people. We're so prone to blame people versus understanding how our own behaviors have led us to where we're at. That's the crux of growth for me. So she has been also helping me to look at the sides and parts of the wild and unleashed, my mom says, inappropriate part of the feminine, and to ask, says who, and to integrate those parts of myself. Just like Lilith always is the goddess to help me with my throat chakra. She is the one to help me to speak my truth, to honor my truth, and not to be afraid to speak up. Hecate also helps me in her own ways. But this is how I integrate. I look for those aspects of feminine, those aspects of things, the aspects of parts of myself that I have cast off due to numerous factors. And trying to understand why and then reel them back in and integrate them in. This is how I work and why I love to work with dark goddess energy. I think especially for women, this is for me personally as I get older. As I get older, I'm 44. As I get older into my age, I am so saddened by how little I know myself. And how what I thought I knew about myself is a mask, it's a facade of femininity of a woman that has been woven together by society and cultures that I have taken on because I thought that's what I'm out to be. And how only now in my age I'm rediscovering myself. And I think that's how it is for a lot of women. I think this is why there's the cliche that women come into their own empowerment in their 40s or 50s, mid-age. And maybe it's a cliche for all genders that everybody comes into their empowerment in that age. Maybe there's just something very ripe around age 40 and 50 that uh, that finally enables us to look at the layers that we have covered ourselves up. It's like an onion, and then start peeling away and seeing what really truly is at the core. I love the work of the dark feminine. I love the work of the wild feminine, the repressed feminine. There's so much raw power there, and the power that is there is so dynamic, and the power there, it is so, it's so needed. It is so needed today. For me personally, when I look at women today, I feel that so much of that has been, I want to say, stripped away. I don't even know where it is anymore. I don't know where it is anymore. It's very interesting, very interesting. The evolution of femininity through decades in history, and the relationship and the way women related to themselves, and what they found as powerful and what they found as disempowering is very fascinating to observe. But that's a different video, that's a different tangent. So that's how I work with Hecate. I work through one, how am I going to connect with her? What is that connection going to look like for me? How am I going to establish that connection? Two, how am I going to relate to her? What is my relationship to her is going to be like? Three, how am I going to integrate it? How am I going to take those nuggets of wisdom she offers me? I'd love to hear how you work with Hecate or any other goddess. I love hearing personal gnosis. This is what I call personal gnosis, right? Personal accounts and discussion. If you're going to do a video, please tag me along. Um, I'd love to, or mention below that you did it. I'd love to see it. If you don't work with Hecate, what goddess do you work with? Comment, share. I love reading your comments. And I'm going to link below Hagrook, Hagroot for all of you. Her oils are amazing. I have all of my oils come from her. And she makes this amazing magical dolls. I have a lot of them on a wall. I also gotten two over the time and gifted it to my sister. And also, I already forgot the creator's name, but I'll link it below for all of you in case if you're interested. And I hope you'll have amazing Friday the 13th. I'm getting close to my evening time to finally sip and enjoy my rosé and enjoy my time after I have done so much work. Wish me wish me all luck tomorrow as my circle of trans womanhood opens. I'm excited, a little nervous, but most of all, really excited. I learned that I'm a woman of taking risks. I love chances. I love doing new things, and I love exploring new things. So it's going to be really, really excited. Hope you have a fantastic Friday, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Bye.